Alright, what is up, guys? It's Wax. Just going to do a quick demo review of Austin playing on product. He's uh, one of the people I've been helping get better at engineer, and we're just going to see what he does on product and what he can do better and what he's already doing really well.
Three, two, one.
Turn my game volume down real quick. Alright, so pretty standard rollout so far. Usually want to get your mini sentry up in main so that you can so that it can watch the point pretty well and allow your team to take ground fairly easily. And right now he's playing fairly passive. Oh, looks like he's going to get into connector. So that spy showed up on his cam just now. I hope he called that. So what he's doing right now is very smart. And he really shouldn't have been the first person to be on the point there. When you want to take the point, usually the engineer is supposed to come in behind everybody else and give them support with his shotgun and his mini sentry, but it was really smart of him to take initiative there and start the capture when the rest of his team wouldn't. If the enemy team wasn't hiding in pocket for so long, he almost certainly would have died. But good on him for taking that initiative. Alright, catches out the spy and supports the sniper. So right now he's in a bit of a situation where there's not a whole lot he can do since his team is dying. And so he's just opted to upgrade his dispenser. But usually in this situation like this, where all your players are dying, especially because your medic is dead, you usually should be wanting to get out. Ideally, you would have wanted to be out a lot earlier because your medic, your demo, and all those other important classes were dead, and it was just you and your medic there. So if you have a bunch of power classes down like that, it's usually wiser to just leave and conserve your Uber. Because I don't remember exactly what percentage your medic was at when she died, but definitely would be wiser to keep that. If you had at it, would have been smart to just keep it. So your soldier just kind of jumped in to their grass all by himself, and that leaves you slightly vulnerable here. So wrangling on concrete is really, really good. It can provide a lot of cover on the point, but uh-oh, what the heck happened there? Oh, he must have bombed you. All right. So again, having a wrangled mini on concrete is really strong, but when you don't have a soldier to contest their flank, sometimes it's just kind of a lost effort because there's really not a whole lot you can do. Because it'll just get taken down or you'll get sniped or something. And when you died there, it was kind of out of your control. The soldier just jumped you and you didn't really have anybody with you. Although you did seem to be backed up for no reason. It normally isn't a great idea to be sitting there. And here, right there, you seem to be just kind of very hurriedly trying to put down a dispenser there. But meanwhile, a scout was on your team and it took him a while to die. And I believe a soldier jumped in as well, so you just seemed a bit too committed to putting down a building there when the bigger priority would have been to make sure that your teammates weren't getting dived. Okay, I'm going to hop into the third person perspective here and just see what's going on over here on the point while you upgrade your telly. Alright, so their sniper is dead, and you guys have the point, so this is a cue for you guys to be playing much more forward. So it looks like Bear Hoovy and drones are taking ground, which is smart, but as their sniper takes position, it's wiser to back up. And see, now you guys are being aggressive at a time where it wouldn't be wiser to be aggressive, and now you've gotten your Uber forced. So the best thing you guys can do now is just leave. Okay, meanwhile, you're just hanging back here. Oh, you're invisible. So seemed like you were hanging back there a lot of the time, just chilling out, upgrading your stuff, which isn't terrible. A lot of the times, you want to make sure that your team has solid ground before setting up a base. And but your combo hasn't been doing a very good job of getting aggressive when they have good picks. Here, you seem like you kind of just overstay your welcome and die. I feel like in that situation, you knew that you were gonna die, but instead of trying to, or you were likely going to die, but instead of trying to conserve your own life, you decided to walk in and try to make a play, which mostly isn't worth it. More players dying. I mean, you guys do have time advantage, but the more players dying on your side, the tougher it's going to be for you guys to get a push going because of staggered picks. Unfortunately, setting up on concrete when their soldier is alive isn't always the greatest idea, especially when you know he's there. It's just not worth it when your gun's going to go down almost every single time. In fact, their team is playing very passive right now. It looks like your demo just died, so it looks like a lot of space was being made for your sniper to try and get a pick, because they were playing rather passive, the other team was, that is, and he just didn't do anything with that space that he was given, and your demo ended up dying. Okay, oh, that was a good serve. Fortunately, that's guy probably took the pack, yeah. So your team had Uber for quite some time, and they didn't do anything with it. That's unfortunate. Yeah. Engineer is, well, it is possible to do well on your own as engineer. Oh, the hell, where'd you go? There you go. Well, a lot of engineer. Well, it is possible to perform well on your own. In a division such as this one, where a lot of teams tend to play passive, inherently just play passive. It's really hard for you to perform well when most of your class just revolves around how passive the other team is playing. And again, you seem to be making the same mistake where you're just putting a gun down in a position that can't be supported by your team because they're all playing behind the point versus on the point, or are currently not contesting the point. And so you lost that spot. That's unlucky. Right now, what your team should be doing is pressuring the sniper. So it looks like their sniper just died. That's cue for your demo to walk in and start taking ground. Especially because you guys have Uber. Even though it's even, you guys can push in and it'll still be a trade. And you'll just have to hope you get better picks here. And meanwhile, it looks like you're just spamming buildings instead of spy checking, and it looks like your team just kind of dies. Wow, the other team is kind of stacked now that I'm looking at it. You have Dog and Cookie and... Oh, that's it. Never mind. So... Alright, so your soldier manages to bully their flank out, so that's smart. Unfortunately, there's not a whole lot you can do right now. Ouch. Looked like it hurt. So it looks like your demo just died. A lot of frags are being traded out right now for seemingly no reason, but Ubers are even, so that's alright. Ideally, you're going to want to have your soldier try to force a sack in. and try and get that kill. But honestly, your soldier hasn't been doing a great job of holding down your flank. And a lot of the time, if your soldier, if you find that you're having a tough time holding the flank, playing there constantly isn't exactly the best idea. It's just really easy to get shut down as engineer when you're on the point. Okay, so this is a really good Uber for you guys. They popped a lot earlier, but they're staying in way too long. Your medic's probably gonna die here, unless she gets out. Yep, yeah. So you guys had no reason to chase that Uber all the way back, because first of all, a scout is a lot better at taking an Uber like that than a pyro is, and the best you could have done there at that point was getting your medic out and then resetting. Unfortunately, you didn't have any class fast enough to jump into that medic and get a kill. So looks like you guys are going to be sitting at about a 45% disadvantage, which can be pretty bad. The only thing you can hope for right now is a player dying on your side. So their sniper went down, looks like. So this is actually cue for you to be playing aggressively on point. And your team is not doing well against the spy. But you're spending a lot of time hanging out around the concrete grass, I've noticed. And it seems like you're scared to walk into main. Having a mini up in main isn't the worst idea, especially because their heavy has been, like, the way their team has been positioning themselves, it's not productive to keep a mini up on grass, mainly because of how much it's going to go down. And the way your team is playing, which is just very passive, it's hard for them to support a mini sentry that's in a position like that. It'll just end up getting destroyed a lot. At the moment, I just suggest getting to safety. There's not much you can do here in this situation in particular, and you'll have to end up getting safer, but your medic held into that Uber pretty well, and now you're taking the point. So that was actually a pretty solid Uber on your side, but you did end up losing a lot of players. So there's not at the moment, I'd suggest backing up and getting to safety, because right now it seems like you're caught out. No, I guess not. So your scout was taking the point there. That was smart of him, especially again considering how passive the other team is playing. They really like to stand in pocket and not do anything. Sometimes the best course of action is to try to bait the Uber from them. It's going to be huge. Oh, never mind. Sometimes what you can do is have your team try to bait the Uber out of the opposing team by standing on the point and trying to force them to stop it with Uber. So if all of your players are sitting on the point and you've bullied their sniper out of position and all this other juicy stuff, then you can stand on the point. Then they'll have to use their Uber to leave or to stop it, or even retake it if they end up losing the point. And you can put your medic in a position where she can back up safely. It seems like I wasn't paying attention. It looks like, I don't know if your medic got forced or something, but that Uber didn't really look like it had to be popped considering how far away the other team was. So again, it looks like you guys are put at another big disadvantage. So there's not going to be a whole lot you can do here at the moment. Okay, so right about now is actually a really good time to have a mini sentry up because their soldier is in position to kill it. I'd even recommend standing there and wrangling at that heavy just to get him to stop shooting at your mini. Even repairing it, because a heavy up in that cliff position is very powerful. And we'll see now what you're doing is putting the mini back now that the soldier is in position, and it just makes your minis useless. So this is not a position where you'd want to be in when they're capturing the point here. Well, actually, what on earth? So you guys are playing way too passively here. Your demo and someone else died really early. Your demo and your heavy died really early to God knows what. I haven't been paying attention, which is really bad. But they really seem to be dying at times where they really shouldn't be. Having them fight the point, I guess. Having them fight the point is crucial to keeping that. Even if they are dying, still having you having them the enemy team shoot them and not your mini sentry is very important to you guys fighting the point here. Yeah, that's just unlucky. Unfortunately, on product, a lot of your performance as an engineer in a division like this is dependent on your team's dominance, but it doesn't seem like that's happening very often. Looks like you guys take the point and then you just immediately back up. You are very caught out here. If you wanted to go for something cheekier like that, I would have suggested going all the way around grass into main, and that just would have been a lot better because you wouldn't be directly in the line of fire of all of their players, but I guess it's not worth it at this point because your team lost. Oh, that's it. Okay. So essentially, one of the things you kept doing is that you just kept building on concrete. Even though their soldier was there constantly, their heavy was always on cliff ready to shoot it. Sometimes I even noticed their sniper was on cliff shooting it. And even though on paper it's one of the strongest spots for an engineer to put a mini sentry, it's still not. It still has its drawbacks, and so putting a mini sentry there without knowing what's in store from the other side of the team is you can find yourself getting mulched pretty often. And that's especially because your team didn't have much of a point presence, in that they'd capture the point, and then even if the enemy sniper was dead, and that's normally when you want to get aggressive, they'd still be playing back and somehow even still manage to allow the spy to get important picks on your combo, and that would allow the enemy team to push in and shut you down as an engineer. And so when you guys did take the point, attempt to take the point, there was not a whole lot you'd be able to do. But there were times I noticed that you would prioritize getting one of your support buildings up rather than fighting the point with your shotgun. And at times, most of the time, you're going to want to opt to shoot opt to try and win the fight instead, because having you run around in the back, putting all your buildings down, putting dispensers in pocket, all that stuff, it's essentially an extra set of hands that isn't in the fight, and you want to be sure that you can contribute as much as possible during those team fights. So that's pretty much it. Yeah, that's a lot. That's it. Thanks for watching, y'all.